having an impact on the nuclear issue. So that the prospect that we face in the Middle East very, very soon, in my view, is that you're going to have an Iran with nuclear weapons. Diplomacy has failed, the sanctions have failed, other steps like cyber warfare have failed, and the Iranians, together with the North Koreans with whom they are undoubtedly working, are getting very, very close to the point where they will have deliverable nuclear weapons. Now, what worries me is that I think the administration's plan B is to say, okay, look, we don't like Iran with nuclear weapons, but we can live with it. We can contain and deter Iran the same way we contained and deterred the Soviet Union during the Cold War. This is a fundamental misperception, a misunderstanding of the calculus of deterrence that existed during the Cold War. It's true that it worked. I don't particularly want to go back to living under the threat of being nuked by some bunch of fanatics over whom we have no control, hoping that our calculus of deterrence is the same as theirs. But even if I were wrong in that, even if Iran could be contained and deterred, it doesn't stop with Iran. Saudi Arabia will get nuclear weapons, Egypt will get nuclear weapons, Turkey will, perhaps others, so that in a very short period of time, 5 to 10 years, you could have half a dozen nuclear powers in the Middle East with relatively small numbers of nuclear weapons. And every morning they would get up and say to themselves, I wonder if we should strike first before that other guy strikes me. This is a situation where you could have a nuclear exchange in the Middle East that, at least at the beginning, Israel wasn't even a part of. Although almost inevitably it would be drawn in. The only way to stop this terrible scenario from coming to pass is to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons in the first place. And given that all the other alternatives have failed, I think that the only way to stop them is through the preemptive use of military force. This is an extraordinarily unattractive option, except for the alternative, which is Iran with nuclear weapons. Because once that happens, the balance in the region and around the world will change forever. The Obama administration is not going to use force. Period. Close quote. It's not going to happen. So that leaves it up to Israel. What will Israel do? I don't know. I don't know. I know they're under enormous pressure from the Obama administration not to do anything. There are probably some in the Israeli government who do believe that through one reason or another they've got more time before Iran gets nuclear weapons, and therefore more time for, what, more negotiation? This is a very, very seriously flawed conclusion, because during this existing, this new period of time, undoubtedly Iran will extend the scope and geographic spread of its nuclear weapons program that will harden what it has and what it's building. In short, it will make a military option harder and harder and harder. And that means that the option, in fact, may already be gone or very near the end of its useful life. So that means that unless there's action, I think in a fairly short period of time, a year or two, Iran will have nuclear weapons. And we in the United States will allow this to happen. Because fundamentally, if we're not able to stop rogue states from proliferating nuclear weapons, nobody else is going to do it for us. And the tragic lesson there is not only will Iran understand that, as North Korea already does, so will dozens of other countries around the world. So that's why I view the issue of Iran and its nuclear program and the possibility of regime change there is so important. And yet the Obama administration has given no concrete assistance, as the Bush administration didn't either, to the Iranian opposition. Not that I believe necessarily that a new government in Iran would be a Jeffersonian democracy either, but I do believe that is the one chance you have to get them to give up their nuclear weapons program voluntarily. I think the regime in Tehran is enormously unpopular because of 30 years of economic mismanagement, because the young people of Iran are sophisticated, they know they can have a very different life than the harsh Sharia rule they live under, because of ethnic dissatisfaction. Only 50% of the country is Persian. But if we're not doing anything to exploit it, if we're not doing anything to contemplate action against the nuclear program, the drift here is unmistakable. We're in a race, and the Iranian nuclear program is winning. So all of these things put together, I think, come back to the central problem that we face over the next 2 years. This is not a question of the president having bad advisors. This is not a question of allies steering us in a wrong direction. This is a question of a fundamentally erroneous view of America's interest in the world and what the interest of its friends and allies are. I think we've got at least 2 more years to try and break through as far as we can with the American people, that focused as they are on the economic issues that beset us, and they are real and serious, especially for those who are unemployed, that presidents ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, and that the president's fundamental responsibility is to protect America and its citizens from threats from around the world. And if we're not able to convince the president of his responsibility, maybe we can convince the American people, and they can take care of this problem in 2012. Thank you very much.
Wow. It's a complex world, but heard through the mind of John R. Bolton, it sounds a lot similar. We thank you so much. Your voice is so clear, and leaders like you are far and few between. You're an inspiration to all of us, and we thank you. We have a gift for you, a presentation of the first annual Patrick Henry Award, and I'd like to present it at this time. I'll read to you the inscription. This was cast especially for the occasion. The Patrick Henry Award, presented to Ambassador John R. Bolton by the Philadelphia Freedom Center for unwavering defense of liberty. We also have another presentation. It just so happens that a biography on Patrick Henry has just been recently completed, and we are honored to have Harlow Giles Unger here, the author, to present it. He's a veteran journalist, broadcaster, educator, and historian, former distinguished visiting fellow in American history at George Washington's Mount Vernon. He's the author of 20 books on American history, including 7 biographies of America's founding fathers, among them Lafayette, George Washington, and most recent Patrick Henry. If you will.
I believe Patrick Henry is the most important patriot in early American history after George Washington himself. He struggled throughout his life against tyranny from government, from British government, from American government, from all big government. You have continued that fight against tyranny in the United Nations and throughout the world. Sir, God bless you for your service to this country.
And of course, as Patrick Henry so famously said, give me liberty or give me death.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming. It's been a wonderful evening. I'm afraid that is all for now. And if you will, take that same inspiration and bring it into your daily lives. I hope we see you again here for another event of the Philadelphia Freedom Center.
Philadelphia Freedom Festival, you know? Philadelphia Freedom, the softball. That was good.